All right, so we have another exciting and fun call here today with our dear friend Zarifa. And Zarifa, thank you for taking the time today. We're going to talk about the plasma energy spheres, and you are a proud owner of those plasma energy spheres. And we're going to talk about some of the things that you've experienced. So this will be kind of fun. How long have you had those now?
So I've been using it for about a month, one
Okay.
month, a solid month. And I'm in love with these spheres because it's kind of changed my life. I don't even know where to begin. Let's start with my teeth. You don't realize until you're older how important teeth are. And what was happening to my teeth is they were kind of getting to be transparent. I would like smile towards the light and I could see through them. And I used to panic and I'd say, well, there's veneers or there's this, don't worry. And my teeth have filled in and turned white. And not only that, I was losing enamel, hence why they were becoming transparent. And I could rub my tongue on my top teeth and I could feel lines. Now it's smooth. I didn't think that was possible. It's smooth now. So that's huge. I used to have like a thyroid, like hypothyroid, and my thyroid would stick out a little bit, and it's pretty much down. So ecstatic about that. My sleep has improved, and the real reason my sleep has improved is I used to get up minimum or steadily 3 times a night to use the bathroom. Had to pee, and I really don't know why I had that urge to always pee, but I did. So I would wake up 3 times a night. Now, one time only, or sometimes no times. Like I'll sleep through, but for the most part, it's usually one time, and I wake up. I dream now, so I'm just feeling different with my sleep. It's like I'm feeling restful, you know, and that's a game changer. I mean, you don't realize it, but all the deficiencies in sleep start to compound after a while, and so when you start to actually get restorative sleep, you're happier and you're more energized. Another improvement I've noticed was I was always worried about my knees. I was a classically trained ballerina. I then was part of a folklore troupe, which was a lot of up and down, kind of like the Russian dancing. It's called dubka, and did that for 10 years. I rode on the crew team in college, and so I was a runner, this, that. So my knees by this time, this past summer, I turned 60. So I really got to take care of myself. But I was developing like these puffiness on my knees, the back of it, the side of it, and I wasn't even recognizing my legs. Now the puff, it's like it's just draining. Everything is just becoming healthier and what I once was. Speaking of which, my fingers, my fingers were getting very wide on the knuckles, and my fingers were getting weak. Now my fingers, they look like I recognize them, and they're so much stronger, you know. But the real reason why I invested in the time and getting the energy plasma spheres is because I was developing a problem with my left eye. My right eye, I see perfectly. My left eye, I was kind of like my vision was going. And I'm seeing a slight incremental improvement, which gives me so much hope because this has taken about 7 or 8 years in the making. So if I can reverse it in a year, at least give it a year after it's been like 8 years in the making, I'm going to be over the moon. I'm just going to be over the moon. So I love getting on it. When I'm on, it's very easy to use because it's just an app on the phone, and you just toggle from one area of the body you want to concentrate on to the next.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy, and anyone can do that because we're always on our phones and we know how to toggle and push the button. So when I'm on it, exactly, I feel almost like a very light tingling in the best way possible. It's almost like you feel healing happening. and it makes me, I'm lying there and I'm getting giddy because it just makes me happy. So this has been a life changer, a game changer. My mom's now going to get one. My sister's going to get one, and it's just a matter of time before the extended family gets gets onto it and uses it and sees like the miracles that can happen.
Certainly. And it's such an interesting system because we were talking before we went live, these dual tube plasma systems, each side is sending this signal into the middle. They collide in the middle where you're actually sitting. So we would call that the still point or a 0 point. And then it's creating this energy field with all the most powerful frequency sets, and then that starts becoming recursive. And so it actually taps into the frequency or the antenna of your DNA, and it becomes a mindful and intelligent energy field. So that in itself is pretty mind blowing. But then with the app, you're able to just scroll through and pick out frequency sets for any part of the body. So, I know you've used the thyroid one, right? Have you used the thyroid
Yes, I
frequency?
have. Yes, I have.
Yeah, and
Oh
then you've
yeah.
got them for the eyes. I mean, all the different parts of the body, there's very specific frequency sets. And so what they do is they start off with that base frequency, and then off of there, they cascade a whole nother set of frequencies off the base frequency. So thyroid, as an example, would be your base frequency. And then it's a golden mean ratio, it's kind of physics jargon, but basically off of that primary frequency, almost like musical notes would be a good way to think of it. Everything that would be in scale of that primary note is then also put into it. So the spheres are almost like singing a song because they're running channels of frequencies through. It's not just hitting that frequency and staying there. It's literally running like a frequency set and cascading up and down and running all those through the body. And the one that I love the most that I always finish off with is at the very top or the very bottom, depending on how you scroll, and that would be the full chakra cascade. And that's always a really good one because that just charges and energizes the whole body. And there is definitely something that's somewhat euphoric about using that because it is putting you in a frequency set that's very it's just very I don't know what the word is, but it's invigorating is probably one good word of saying it. And so when you come out of that system, you definitely feel charged. And for me, what I do is I run through, and then based on intuition, I'll pick different stuff that I'm like, ah, yeah, I probably could use the liver for 5 or 10 minutes. And there's all the frequency sets for men and then all the frequency sets for women. And so even for men, there's a lot of issues going on now where a lot of men, I'm 59, so I'm kind of right there with you.
Mhm.
But, there's a lot of that going on where people are getting up multiple times throughout the night. And, there's a whole host of reasons for that. But, with
Yeah.
men, I think it would be enlarged prostate and other things that are going on, which are environmentally focused problems, in my opinion, because these are things that are very relevant and recent, maybe in the last 10 years, that you really didn't hear much about 15, 20, 30 years ago. So there's
Mhm.
definitely things environmentally that are probably being introduced that are causing a lot of that. But, getting a good night's sleep is certainly a big deal. And then all these other benefits that you're seeing with the reduced inflammation, reduced swelling, the knees, like we were talking earlier, the spheres literally create these energy fields where it's almost reversing time in a sense. But what it's doing and when it rejuvenates is it's literally, you know, biologically reversing the age of the body. Chronologically, we're still 59, 60, but it's literally rejuvenating those parts of the body. And the thing that's interesting about that is that this technology is inscribed in hieroglyphics in Egyptian buildings. Actually, I just found the one that has that actual glyph that I can post in the links down
Yeah,
below.
that would be interesting. Hmm.
But the story is that the ancients, as we would call them, aka perhaps the Anunnaki, when they came down from the heavens, which is what Anunnaki really translates into, their bodies were aging prematurely in the Earth's atmosphere, and they were using dual tube energy systems to rejuvenate themselves. So the
Wow.
technology itself is actually very advanced because the Anunnaki that created all the megalithic structures still are doing things back then that we can't replicate now, and we kind of put them in this box of sticks and stones and rolling logs, and that whole thing is a complete farce. Not that that didn't happen at some level, but not with the kind of stuff that they were doing with 50 and 100-ton stones going up 10 stories and all the physics of that just doesn't add up. But
Yeah.
we rediscovered this technology, and now, it's become somewhat affordable. So, people like
Yeah.
yourself can
Hmm.
do that. And I think the beauty of it is not only do you get the benefit of it, but then it's the ability to say, hey, mom, hey, sis, or even friends and family that are right there in your own, like in your own realm, your, immediate people that you see on a day-to-day basis,
Yeah.
can get access to it because
Yeah. And if I can add something, we talked about this and it was something I was thinking about and you mentioned it. And that is, I always think about, when symptoms occur on a physical level, that means it's been going on internally for a long time. It really has, and then you get the manifestation of macular degeneration or arthritis or something. But that's because there's either, a basis of stress, inflammation, food, whatever it is that's caused this to finally manifest. And with this, device, it is more than even anti-aging. It is healing, and it is, like you say, age reversal. Because and a lot of men and women like to know and hear that, like, things that maybe aren't important but are nice is like my hair has improved tremendously. My skin, I was getting very slight little, like, I don't know what you call them, gels or whatever. And I was doing the jaw, teeth, tongue, all those other choices on the frequency table, and I'm like, I kept looking in the mirror, like, what? Like, it just sharpened everything like so much, and that's just an added benefit. But think of what's happening inside that we that's happening, that's causing this to show up in this manner.
yeah.
So much is going on in the realm of healing, that there's so much more miracles yet to come that we're not seeing at this very moment. And I can't tell you, like, how exciting is that?
That's super. It's super exciting. It's super cool. You talked earlier also about the mouth and the teeth, and there
Hmm.
is a frequency set for that as well. And, the thing I like about the technology is I like staying out in front of stuff, and saying, I don't really need to worry about falling into disrepair. Let me
Yeah.
stay on the, getting out in front of it part of it and say, let's just address it and run frequencies and just work on everything before, something does break down.
Hmm.
But, you do get more sensitive to the mouth, teeth, and gums as you get older. And
Hmm.
so to have frequency sets that are very specific for that, we do get a
Yeah.
lot of people where you're getting regression of the gums or mouth
Right.
pain or maybe an abscess or whatever it might be. But when you can go in and run very specific frequency sets for those parts of the body and stay out in front of it, I think, that's also the thing that for me is very exciting because there's not a part of the body that you can't address. Now, I will say also, which is not necessarily relevant to what you use it for myself, but
Hmm.
we use it a lot for people that have heart conditions. We're
Hmm.
seeing that it helps improve the strength of the heart. We're using it for people with
Wow.
lung issues. We're seeing that it's helping improve lung issues. I'm using it for people that have had strokes, and so I can go in and focus on very specific parts of the brain because, as you know, in those frequency sets, when you get down towards the bottom, you can literally pick out just about any part of the brain and run
Yeah.
frequencies. And a lot of times there's lesions or swelling or damage that happened during the stroke in those areas. And then with anybody that has partial paralysis, a lot of times it's going to be focused in the feet where they're one side of their body, left or right, depending on where the stroke actually occurred,
Hmm.
is somewhat immobile. It's somewhat paralyzed. And then I can go in and run very specific frequency sets. So we're seeing a lot of improvement with people with strokes as well. And, I love what we're doing, what you're doing, and what I'm doing because we're catching stuff early and getting after it and addressing it, before it can manifest into something more serious. But, there is a lot to be said for both things, addressing stuff that's already happened and staying out in front of stuff before it gets a little bit out of control.
Exactly, exactly. It's pretty miraculous, and the fact that it's available and anybody could buy it and have it in their home, it's such a gift.
Yeah.
It's like everybody should jump on this because it's so easy to use.
And yeah, I love it. And the other thing too, which is documented scientifically, is that it declusters your blood. So
Wow.
they've done before and afters with blood samples using it. And when you're not getting a lot of electrons, aka when you're not making contact with the earth, your
Hmm.
body, your blood starts sort of running like dirty motor oil. The red blood cells start clumping and clotting. And after 15 or 20 minutes of use, it literally puts them all back into individual little, red blood cells, and they're repelling each other. And it reduces the blood viscosity and improves the quality of your blood.
Wow.
And, just that in itself, a lot of people,
Yeah.
blood clots or, I don't know, high blood pressure, but definitely strokes and a lot of things, you might be to alleviate some of those symptoms by getting your blood right. And this is another benefit, which, Patrick, who you've spoken to and met, one of the co-inventors, they've done, and I've got the actual photos of before and afters when they're actually doing the blood samples, which is another benefit that we haven't spoken of. And I'm not, uh,
Yeah.
you know, doing that here with blood samples, but that's another benefit that
That's huge. That's
it is.
huge. Wow.
Yeah.
Everybody has blood. Everybody needs to have it running correctly and clean and not clumping up. Like that'll affect everybody. And like everybody has it manifesting in their bodies in different ways. So somebody will say, well, I don't have that problem. I have this problem. But then sometimes the common denominator is our circulation,
Yes.
and the manner in which the health of our blood is supplying everything. So it could just be like that's huge.
It really is. Sometimes you've got chronic cold fingers or whatever it is, and that could just be from lack of good blood circulation.
Yeah, yeah, wow. That's a very good thing I didn't even know about. So
Yeah.
that's really exciting to hear.
Yeah. And, I just think it's interesting because, the goal for us, like with anything, is to get the technology out. And this is technology that's not necessarily easy to find. Patrick and Dan, they're out in Belgium, they're in Europe, and they're brilliant, brilliant scientists. But,
Hmm.
their whole world is about making the next product or improving this one or building the next app or whatever it is that they're doing. So, being able to get your hands on the tech and then help sort of get it out to the world, I think is kind of interesting because every single one of these units is handmade, and so it's not like a mass production facility. It's really where there's a lot of tender loving care going into it, and they treat these technologies like they're their children, where they put a lot of love in it. And the interesting thing is because you're dealing with a mindful and intelligent energy field, it kind of is, like there is something to that as well, as far as,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, conscious energy, which technically thunder, lightning, wormholes, the sun, all these are plasma energy fields are actually mindful and intelligent energy fields, which that whole concept, for me and I think for you wasn't stuff that we grew up getting a lot of information on in high school or in college, but we're really tapping into some very, very esoteric and very powerful technology.
Hmm. Yes. Oh, it's very exciting. And I always dig for health. Because like with my eye, I went through every doctor possible until they said, well, that's all we can do for you. And same thing with my thyroid. I refuse to be on any type of medication. So it was me going down this journey of finding my own healing modalities that I always was searching on Rumble, searching, on the alternative outlets, and I came across it by some miracle. Actually, I probably on Super Soldier Talk with James Rink. Might have been that one or Project Camelot. So not many people listen to them. And I
No.
tell you, the benefit you go from going outside the box and the path less traveled is where you will find your solution.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
so fortunate. I feel so fortunate to have found you and
Well,
the class.
likewise, I'm so fortunate to have found you as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So
So
it's changed my life. That's all I can
yeah,
tell
and
you.
I'm
The regular
I'm I'm
person and it
super
changed
happy
my.
because I can't wait to meet your mom
Oh
and your
yes,
sister.
yes, you will. We'll be coming. We're so excited to come down to Virginia.
Yes, so we're gonna have to figure out a way to extend that vacation to see your sister and get you down here.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Zarifa, thank you so much. You are an absolutely beautiful woman, and I am
Thank you
super
so much.
grateful to, have been able to meet you. Before we sign off and call it a show,
Yeah,
is there anything else that you'd like to say before we go?
I'm just grateful, Sean. I'm just grateful to you and to what you do and to what you provide to, you know, regular folks like me who you changed my life. So
Well,
thank
I'll
you.
tell you what, it's a labor of love. I mean, I think most people know that I'm also in the medical industry. So I
Wow.
deal with a lot of
Yeah.
ICU beds and a lot of other really high-end medical equipment. And
Wow.
because I'm dealing every day with ALS, MS, like right now we're rushing a bed out to a kid that was hit in a motorcycle accident and he needs one of those beds right next to me that brand new is an $80,000 bed that'll turn them and do all these different things. But it's because I'm dealing with really serious health issues on a day-to-day basis that I said, I know that there's stuff out there that can do good in the world that people just don't know about, and the number of miracles and things, because Zarifa, for me and for you now, we live in a world of infinite miracles and infinite possibilities. And this technology goes way beyond the box that everybody puts us in that says this is all you can do and this will always be how it is. But I don't live in that world anymore.
I
I
agree.
you know what I mean? And that's just one piece of technology. So Dan and Patrick also have these little Tesla discs that I put one behind their back and one on their stomach, and they create and they do the exact same thing, and they can help restore nerves and different things in the spinal area to help people regain movement and help fix spinal cord injuries and all these different things that I'm taking these and literally putting them to the test. And not only that, we do have a facility here, so we do get a lot of people that come in here. But, I think the number one thing for a lot of people is hope. I think that, like when we first started talking, I know there was a lot of anxiety about your eyes. And I know, we talked several times. I know that that's stressful.
Yeah.
Uh, I've got a really good friend of mine that has optic nerve issues, and I forgot what they call it, but they're putting literally shots in this guy's eyes,
Wow.
for one of these eye issues. But he's starting to use the technology now. He's starting to see some benefits. So
Wow.
whether he has to continue down that path or not will yet to be seen. But the word no and the word can't and the word, all these things in my world, they don't exist. They're only hearing that because they don't know what the body can do when the body gets the right information or the right stimulation or the right energy fields to rejuvenate it and wake up the cells and wake up the body and say, look, we need to get things moving and flowing because we all have that perfect DNA blueprint. The body has that perfect blueprint that knows what perfection and what homeostasis actually is. And when it's given that information to get back to it, it can be done, right? And so I'm so blessed, number one, because I get to interact with a lot of great people like yourself, and I'm
Thank you.
super grateful that you would, take the time to join us to share that because I always tell people the physics of what it does is it's cool, it's great, but ultimately, really what it comes down to is there something out there that can help me, right? That's really what it comes down to. So rather than getting into all of it, and it's important at a level, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not important, but for the average person, rather than listening to physics jargon that a lot of them don't clearly understand. It's more about, okay, but is this something that can help this or can help that? And, we
Right.
talked earlier about some things that this thing's really good for, and there's other things maybe it's not the best for. I mean, there's certain things like Lyme disease that I probably wouldn't recommend that technology for, but there would be something else. But when it comes to rejuvenating the body, reverse aging the cells and the body itself, and all these other things that we're talking about today, this thing is an absolute amazing piece of technology. And so, thank you once again so much for taking the time today. And I will look forward to talking to mom and your sister and getting to meet more of the family.
Mhm.
Stay with me for just a sec before we sign off, and we'll
Okay.
hang out for a minute or two. And for
Okay.
anybody else that's out there watching the video, you can get more information down below. And with all that being said, have a great day, everybody. Subscribe and share, and we'll see you on the next video.